This is Resequence, and I'm Randy with the Master of Will's team. Today we're going to show you how to play the solo mode. Resequence is actually designed specifically to be able to play with a friend in co-op or multiple friends, and solo. Also, there is the competitive side, so they both play similar. But there are some differences, and today we're going to cover that, and we're going to dive right in with Resequence. In Resequence, your gaming adventure begins with two carefully crafted decks. Each one contains 76 cards, and one is called the Defector deck, and the other is called a Faction deck. You also get a game guide, we'll put this to the side for now, and a cool game box. And each deck is used in a different way. The Defector deck will be used as the grid cards, while the Faction deck will be used to choose a faction, which I'll do right now. There are 8 factions, and we're going to use Alpha Guard for this game. Now we're going to talk about a single card and explain how it interacts with other cards. Let's start by looking at the icons and values. This card is a 10. This value is what the card's default value is. Underneath, it shows what power it has. This icon here is called the Defector icon. It will draw cards from this deck when played. These three changes are called value changes. This can be 1, 2, or 3 on any given card, and they will interact with any cards on all 4 sides to make value changes. If we add a second card to the board and we place this card here, you'll see that both of these cards actually interact together. However, I played this card, so to create a matching value for this card, the color here must match the card it's placed next to. It does not matter that this one has a gray on it. The only thing that matters when you play the card is that connection it makes. So the interaction is, this card is reducing this by 2, the gray to the gray, and this one is actually increasing this one by 2. So this card immediately becomes a 12, and this card becomes a 0. That will not be added till the end of the game. So we'll interact one more time. We're going to play this card right here on the 10. It will reduce the 10 down by 3. So as you see, this card was a 12. Now, with 3 taken away from it, it is now a 9. It has no other interactions, and finally we'll show a 4th card, and in this case, it's interacting with both of these cards. This card's reducing it down to 1 with a -3. This card is being reduced by this card by 3, making this one a 2. And that's how the interaction works. You're going to fill in the grid, and then you end the game. That is the main core of how to play. This is the grid. The grid in a standard solo game is 6 by 6. And as you can see here, this is a standard grid size. However, you can play the grid in any different configuration. We have a grid creator on our resequencegame.com website, which is going to allow you to look through different maps that have been created and store new grids and then create levels of difficulty. But for now, we're going to do a simple 5 by 4 grid to show you how to play the solo mode. Here we have the first thing you must do before you start. Since we're Alpha Guard, we're going to remove Alpha Guard from the Defector deck, because if too many Alpha Guard cards come out, it becomes a very easy game to win. So the first thing you have to do is choose your faction. Next, remove that from the deck for now. After setting up the grid and shuffling the cards, you must create an Afterlife, which is 6 cards just put into the Afterlife randomly. These cards can be drawn by playing a Ripper Doc early in the game. If you don't have the Afterlife, the Ripper Doc is useless. So you'll have 6 cards, and now we're ready to go. We're going to draw 3 cards and basically a 4th card for my turn, and I'm ready to play. My first move is going to be a cleaner. A cleaner is really interesting because it has a very good power and it can kill a card. The problem is if you don't match. And let's explain how matching works one more time. When placing the card, I must place against a card that matches. For example, this green -2 matches this green. This will match the purple because of the purple. If it matches, a cleaner can kill any card on the board. If it doesn't match, the cleaner can only kill your own cards. So, cleaner's way more powerful when you can match. So we're gonna go ahead and match and play it right there. And why would I do that? Because this is adding a +1 to this card. This card is actually reducing it by -4. But guess what? He's a cleaner. Go ahead and kill this card and place it in the Afterlife. This card also has a draw. Now that draw can be done before or after the power itself. For example, had I decided to draw first, I could kill that draw card even before it hits the board. But for now, I've decided to make that kill, and I'm gonna go ahead and draw one defector because there is one icon. If there's more than one icon, you'll draw more than one card. That is a card that you don't have to worry about anything except these icons because it is a common card. If the card is a epic or a legendary, those have different powers. The epic card, if it matches, you must do another draw if there's a draw on the card. A legendary doesn't matter. You play it, you must do the draw. And that's how it works in solo. It's a little different than in playing the competitive. So we're gonna go ahead and place this card in a place that we feel good about. Looking around the board, you're looking for negative blood crown. There's only one here and one here. So we'll go ahead and play it right there. Just because there's a negative blood crown, and we'll save this plus for another card here. So we will draw another card. We're gonna start by just playing this fixer because a fixer is a very strategic card. If I wanna play a card face down in a normal game or fix a card for a later play, I don't have to match. I can play it anywhere. If I wanna play that card, which we're gonna show later, then I must match. So in this case, I'm just gonna put this right here with a +3 and a +3 because quite frankly, all I need to do is do the first part of a fixer card. What do? You'll draw a card, a new card from your deck, and then you'll choose any of your cards and you'll fix it. So I'm gonna take this Netrunner and I'm gonna fix it. And that means this card requires another fixer or a command card to play it. So we're gonna put that down and our fixer is done. Let's see, got a command card, but we're gonna go ahead and play a Hawker. Now again, if you don't match, there's a weaker form of power that must be played. But let's go ahead and match. We're gonna place this Hawker right here. I match with the blue to the blue, so I get to play a Hawker. And a Hawker is a very interesting card. It does trading. And so what you would do with a Hawker is you're gonna draw 3 cards from the deck. You're gonna reveal those cards, and then you get to place one on the board. You get to swap one off the board and throw one away. Well, in this case, we got one decent card because this Hawker is going to allow me to at least get a low valued card onto the board, but with a +1. So let's go ahead and hawk with, well, you know what? If we just change out that card right here, it goes from a 7 to a 3, and it puts a -3 onto that 10. So we're gonna go ahead and just get rid of the 7 that way. Then you can place one on the board. Now, I don't have much choice here. I have to place something somewhere. So I wanna put something in an area in which we can do the least amount of damage to ourselves. So I can go ahead and place this right here. Next up, we'll draw another cleaner, but for now, we wanna show you what a Ripper Doc does. A Ripper Doc is how you access the cards in the Afterlife. So let's go ahead and play the Ripper Doc here. This one happens to have a draw on it. In this case, I'm gonna go ahead and draw first and see what happens. Okay, this is an epic. So in order to make sure we don't draw again, because we only have a couple of spaces left and we want more cards on the board, we're gonna place this in an area in which it doesn't match. So these 3 colors, it needs to be placed in an area that they do nothing. So I think for now, this is an area in which I can play it. It doesn't touch gray or red, and it's out of the way. You do not have to do that draw. Now, we still have a Ripper Doc, so we need to bring a card onto the board. And there's several options at this point, because you can look at these big negative cards. You can place them in different places. So we could find one like this card that has a -3 to that, a -3 to that, and there's a -3 back to it. Guess what? That made this card a 3, took that card down, because there's a +3 there anyway. So it took it back down to a 3, and then it takes this card and makes it a -3. So that makes that a 4. So that's just about a perfect play. And that is how a Ripper Doc works. Okay, so we're getting to the very strategic part of the game. We're gonna draw again. And that is, we only have 3 spaces left, right? So we've got to really maximize our plays to beat their cards, because at the end of the game, you're adding up your blue cards against all the remaining cards. So we've got to do a lot of work here to strategically make this happen. So So we have this fixed card that we need to get on the board. We know we don't have a lot of plays left, so we're gonna go ahead and use this fixer to do that. This fixer can go in numerous places, but right now, placing her up here is fine. She's gonna reduce that card by 7, and she triggers the secondary fixer, which is move this, the secondary power. If I didn't match, again, I could place another card down, but I can't trigger them. By the way, if there's more than one card down and the fixer matches, you can actually play both cards at the same turn. So note that. So play the fixer. I do draw again, but there's no doubt what I'm playing. I'm gonna play this, okay? I reduce this card by 2. I get one more here, and the net runner allows you to move a card. Well, we've been staring at this card for a long time because it's got a +5. So we're gonna go ahead and move that card right up here. So suddenly it's adding +5 and +5 to those two cards, really giving us another 10 points, which was a desperately needed move. So we are down to what's called the last play. There's only one spot left. That can actually happen if there's 2 or 3 spots and draws actually come into the play. So I'm gonna explain how that works. So for example, if I was to play this card as my last play, then it would match, and it would enable me to use a special power. And a Ripper Doc special power is to be able to swap itself with a card from the Afterlife. Or if there were multiple draws and that Ripper Doc, the draws and the Ripper Doc, any of those cards could be swapped. In this case, we don't want to play that because we have a better move. Another option, instead of having a last play, you can create another last play. So first I need to draw my final card. Just note, if you run out of cards, you begin drawing from the defector deck. So we're gonna play this cleaner right here. And at this point, what you would wanna do is, I do the draw first, there's nowhere to play it, it goes to the Afterlife. Now you've done your draw, it's in the Afterlife, but I still get to kill a card. So now we kind of look at what's on the board, and this 9 has been staring at me in the face. It is -3 here, but it's also getting +2. So it's still an 8. So let's just go ahead and kill that card, okay? That opens up another play. And finally, we have no cards left to draw from, so we would draw one from the deck. So we're gonna go ahead and explain the very last power in this demo, and that is called the command. And the command is very simple because we're gonna play it right here. The command card can do anything. It can kill a card, it can draw, it can move a card, it can do any of the powers. The net runner, the Ripper Doc, can do any of those things. And essentially, by doing something, we could kill a card right now and play another card. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So just looking at the board, this card is pretty valuable, this 10. I'm gonna go ahead and kill that card, and I'm gonna just draw, then my turn would end because there's no draws. And now I'm just gonna play this fixer to end the game right here. There's no draws, game ends, there's nothing more to do, now we're done. And then we count. So how do we count? We're gonna start with the opponent. The opponent cards, these cards, we're gonna count first. So how do we do that? We start with the 9. What is this 9? Well, let's look. Does any card interact with that? Yes, this +1 interacts with it, it becomes a 10. This 7 also has a few interactions, a -4 and a -2. That makes that a 1. This 9 over here has a -2, making it a 7. The 5 here has a -2, making it a 3. The 8 is a -2, that makes it a 6. The 3 here has a -3 and a +3, so they cancel and keeps it as a 3. This 10 is a -3, and that's it, so it's a 7. This 7 is a -3 and a -2, it's actually only a 2. The 6 is a -3, that's a 3. The 5 is a 5, and the 6 here is a 6. So the opponent has 53 points. So now we're gonna add ours up. This 6 interacts with just this 8, making it a 9. The 8 interacts with the 3 and the 3, making it a 14. This 8 gets a +5, making it a 13. This 8 gets a +5 and a +3, making it a 16, +1 is 17. The 2 is a 5, +1 is a 6. The 10 is a 12, +3 is a 15, +3 is an 18. The 4 here is a 9, +1 is a 10. This 4 is a +1, is a 5, -2, so this is only a 3. This 6 has no interaction, so it is only a 6. So the final score is 96 to 53. And that is the game. Now, of course, we've set that up so games aren't always going to be that big a blowout, but we wanted to show you how it's made, how the grid works, and how you fill it in. It's really simple, but I'll tell you what, you expand this out to the 6x5, it's way harder than if the board has only 15 cards. One last thing before we go. In a co-op game, it is identical to what we just showed you in a solo game. The only difference is both players will receive 2 cards. A player will draw a 3rd card. In the power, if you play a fixer, okay, so we play a fixer on the board, we would draw the additional card and fix a card, okay? The partner or teammate of the player will then also draw. They then, if they play a fixer, and let's say the fixer had a matching card, they could actually play the fixer of their partner. And that is the only difference. The rest of the game is played exactly the same. Thank you for joining us on the Resequence journey. Whether you're navigating solo or collaborating with friends, the world of Resequence awaits. Until next time, happy gaming.